So if I were the brothers, I'd be like, we can't kill the favorite. We can't kill the favorite because, we're going to end up all dying. Guess who's going to be left? The one that nobody likes. Hey guys, welcome to Joel Reads Bible. I'm Joel and I read the Bible. Guess why? Guess why? That's right, so you don't have to. Every episode here on the channel is one chapter of the Bible. We're still in Genesis. Yeah. I have a feeling once we get into Kings and Judges and things like that, there's stories that I don't even know. Stories that weren't taught in Sunday school. A lot of these stories that we've been dealing with here in Genesis are ones that just it's almost like every Christian knows them. They're the foundational things. They're just what people know. But I can't wait till we get further along in the book where it's like, sorry, what was that? Sorry, what was that? What's going on? What is that law? I think we're going to have a lot of fun with it. We're here at Genesis chapter 37, and it's another main character. It's another huge player, and that is Joseph, not the one that's the sort of dad of Jesus. This is the first original Joseph, and we're going to get into it, but you first have to subscribe. Click it. I'm not going to read it till you click it. Click the subscribe, or is it there? I don't know. Click the subscribe and then like the video and listen to the whole thing and then leave a comment when you have something interesting to say, please. And let me just say, I am grateful to all my subscribers. My channel has grown substantially from basically zero. And I'm very grateful for that. And I'm thankful for everyone who watches these longer episodes because this is really what the channel is about. My goal wasn't really to put out one verse as a short video where I do a joke about it. The goal is to look at the whole thing in context so that we can stop the argument of, it's out of context, it's out of context. Genesis chapter 37. Jacob lived in the land where his father had stayed, the land of Canaan, which was called earlier his native land. Also, Jacob is also now named Israel sometimes. Not confusing at all. This is the account of Jacob. It says this is the account of Jacob, and then the first name is Joseph. Joseph, a young man of 17, was tending the flocks with his brothers, the sons of Bilhah, his father's wives, and he brought their father a bad report about them. Now Israel, who was just referred to as Jacob earlier in this chapter, but now will be called Israel again. Now Israel loved Joseph more than any of his other sons because he had been born to him in his old age. If you'll remember, Rachel was barren for a long time, and she was able to finally have a child, and it was Joseph. Then even later, she had another child, and it was Benjamin. So that was even in Jacob's older age. So I don't know why he doesn't love Benjamin most, because he was the one that was born last and also killed his beloved wife, who was the most beautiful of all the baby makers that he had in his property. And he made a richly ornamented robe for him. When his brothers saw that their father loved him more than any of them, they hated him and could not speak a kind word to him. Hey, he's getting off easy because we've had jealous brothers before. And what happened there? Well, you guys will remember Cain killed Abel. That was the first brothers. Remember that? Remember the first brothers? If they're just, we can't even say anything nice to that guy because he's got the amazing Technicolor dream coat. No big whoop. Count your blessings, Joseph. By the way, I don't think he needs the coat. He's already tattle-tailing on his brothers. So the little prick. Joseph had a dream, and when he told it to his brothers, they hated him all the more. He's just tripling down on this. He said to them, "Listen to this dream I had. We were binding sheaves of grain out in the field when suddenly my sheaf rose and stood upright, while your sheaves gathered around mine and bowed down to it." I don't know what it means. I don't, guys. And I hate to bring it up, but have you seen the new jacket? His brothers said to him, "Do you intend to reign over us? Will you actually rule us?" and they hated him all the more because of his dream and what he had said. If you know your brothers, right? Like if you know them, if you've gotten to know them over the years, you don't have to be that honest. You don't have to tell them everything. You know what I mean? Like you can keep this one close to the chest. Go tell your dad. Your dad will be like, oh yeah, I love that for you. Oh yeah, I want you to rule over them. That's why I made you the nice jacket, so that you'll look great doing it. Like, I really hope this happens. I really hope that dream comes true. You know, there's one blessing I'm able to give to one son, as per the superstition. And I think I might give it to you. Then he had another dream, and he told his brothers, Joseph, don't do it. Listen, he said, I had another dream, and this time the sun and moon and 11 stars were bowing down to me. What do you think that means? When he told his father as well as his brothers, his father rebuked him and said, what is this dream you had? Will your mother and I and your brothers actually come to bow down to the ground before you? Come on, I love you, but you're getting a little bit arrogant. His brothers were jealous of him, but his father kept the matter in mind. There's just been some moments in previous stories where the reactions of the characters are pretty juvenile. Maybe we're overreacting to mockery or seeing someone nude. And here, it's like, why are you guys getting that upset? Because the kid had a dream. He's 17. He's a tattletale. He's probably spoiled. He's a little bit of a, and then he has this dream, these ideations of grandeur, where he's like, oh, everyone's bowing down to me because I'm so wonderful, because daddy loves me and he got me this great jacket. I'm the favorite. I'm wonderful. But of course, in the story, in the narrative, dreams mean something, obviously. That's the thing. So they're like, what, you're having a dream that definitely means something. It's probably prophetic. What, do you think we're going to bow down to you? The point is that if anyone ever came up to me and was like, I had a dream, like one of my brothers, I had a dream where our whole family, everyone else was bowing down to me. I'd be like, good for you. Like, what a weird dream. That's funny. Anyway, go do the dishes. Now his brothers had gone to graze their father's flocks near Shechem. And Israel said to Joseph, as you know, your brothers are grazing the flocks near Shechem. You heard the narrator say that, right? Yeah, so that's where they are. Come, I am going to send you to them. Very well, he replied. So he said to him, go and see if all is well with your brothers and with the flocks, and bring word back to me. Then he sent him off from the valley of Hebron. I'm glad they didn't use one of the other two names for it because they're more difficult to say. When Joseph arrived at Shechem, a man found him wandering around in the fields and asked him, what are you looking for? He replied, I'm looking for my brothers. Can you tell me where they are grazing their flocks? They have moved on from here, the man answered. I heard them say, let's go to Dothan. So Joseph went after his brothers and found them near Dothan. But they saw him in the distance, and before he reached them, they plotted to kill him. I spoke too soon about the Cain and Abel thing, didn't I? These folks love to kill their brothers. If you're jealous, there's one way to solve this. No, it's not to be a better person. It's not to find favor with your dad. What, all of a sudden you're going to be the one that was born in his old age? You can't do that. Benjamin tried it, and he's not even the favorite. So there's only one solution. Kill the competition. Or curse them. You can curse them. You could always curse them. And by the way, one thing that I would think about if I were one of his brothers, if they kill Joseph, that's solving one problem. But what happens if one of them becomes the new favorite? He's like, oh man, I miss Joseph. Asher, come sit with me. Come sit with Asher. Dan. Oh, Dan, you're looking very healthy lately. Oh, hi, Dan. Come. What do you have there, Dan? Oh, you got some red stew? I'm going to get you a coat. And then next thing you know, Dan's like, great, Dad. They're going to kill me next. Like no one's safe. So if I were the brothers, I'd be like, we can't kill the favorite. We can't kill the favorite because, we're going to end up all dying. and guess who's going to be left? The one that nobody likes. Here comes that dreamer, they said to each other. Come now, let's kill him and throw him into one of these cisterns and say that a ferocious animal devoured him. Then we'll see what comes of his dreams. We'll beat his dreams, man. We'll beat the dreams. I'm actually kind of worried about his dreams. I'm taking his dreams so seriously that at this point, I want to kill him. That's how superstitious I am. When Reuben heard this, I think he's the big brother, he tried to rescue him from their hands. Hey. Let's not take his life, he said. Don't shed any blood. Throw him into the cistern here in the desert, but don't lay a hand on him. Except for to grab him and throw him in the cistern. That lay a hand on him to do that, but don't kill him. Reuben said this to rescue him from them and take him back to his father. Reuben, he's all right. He's all right. Yeah. He slept with Bilhah. Yes, he slept with Jacob/Israel's concubine. Okay, we don't love that, but he is saving the favorites. So maybe he's not so bad. Seems like it was probably fine that he slept with Bilhah anyways. So when Joseph came to his brothers, they stripped him of his robe, the richly ornamented robe he was wearing. Richly ornamented robe, or a coat of many colors, like, is that in the King James, possibly? And they took him and threw him into the cistern. Now the cistern was empty. There was no water in it, so he wouldn't drown. As they sat down to eat their meal, they looked up and saw a caravan of Ishmaelites coming from Gilead. Their camels were loaded with spices, balm, and myrrh, and they were on their way to take them down to Egypt. Ishmaelites, a whole line of people from a piece of garbage we never really liked, who we wished had died in the desert. And by the way, I know that these Ishmaelites are not going to be liked. They're not good people. We don't like them. They are, well, their dad was a donkey of a man, or at least their patriarch was a donkey of a man. And they've been cursed by God to be people that nobody really gets along with. But here they are, and they're heading down to Egypt, which makes sense because they are part Egyptian. Judah said to his brothers, "What will we gain if we kill our brother and cover up his blood? Come, let's sell him to the Ishmaelites and not lay our hands on him," other than to pull him back out of the cistern and then sell him to the Ishmaelites. "After all, he is our brother, our own flesh and blood." His brothers agreed. Joseph's not going to die, which is excellent because I feel like the line of descendants is probably going to come through Joseph and Benjamin, actually. So when the Midianite merchants came by, who are also Ishmaelites, I guess, and Gileadians, I suppose, his brothers pulled Joseph up out of the cistern and sold him for 20 shekels of silver to the Ishmaelites who took him to Egypt. When Reuben returned to the cistern and saw that Joseph was not there, where did Reuben go? Some of the details, they don't give it, but Reuben stepped away, probably to pee. He's like, okay, I'm going to go take a pit. Wait a second, there's a caravan. Okay, guys, don't do anything with the caravan until I get back. It's actually in number 2, which is going to take me about 20 or 30 minutes. So just don't do anything. I'm just going to walk a little ways over here, leave Joseph alone, and I'll be back. When Reuben returned to the decision and noticed and saw that Joseph was not there, he tore his clothes. He went back to his brothers and said, "The boy isn't there. Where can I turn now?" Then they got Joseph's robe, slaughtered a goat, and dipped the robe in the blood. I feel like this is really, really clever, but if it were any modern day situation, they would test the DNA and be like, goat's blood. There's no blood of a person on this. They took the ornamented robe back to their father and said, "We found this. Examine it to see whether it's your son's robe." He recognized it and said, "It is my son's robe. Some ferocious animal has devoured him. Joseph has surely been torn to pieces." They both use the exact same wording to describe what kind of animal. I mean, look, it's a story passed down from generations. They're not going to have the character speak in his own kind of syntax or cadence. When you're writing a movie or you're writing like a novel and you're actually a really good writer, you would give each character their own way of speaking. In this case, they're all just saying the same exact thing, the same exact way. Then Jacob tore his clothes. There's a lot of torn clothes going on here. You know, whoever their seamstress is. If I were a rich man. I think he was a seamstress in Fiddler on the Roof. Then he tore his clothes, put on sackcloth, and mourned his son many days. This is the first mention of sackcloth. Of course, that's going to come up again. It's just the way people mourn in those days, but this is the first time that's happened in the book itself. And maybe Jacob was the first one to do it, / Israel. Now he's being called Jacob again. All his sons and daughters came to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. No, he said, in the morning I will go down to the grave to my son. So his father wept for him. Meanwhile, the Midianites sold Joseph in Egypt to Potiphar, one of Pharaoh's officials, the captain of the guard. Jacob's alive. That's good news. That's good news. I feel like the ornamental coat is just there to, one, garner jealousy. So for an interesting story, oh, let's kill him because he got that cool coat. And then two, a convenient way to confirm that he's been killed. Because if it was just like one random robe that people wore and just like everybody had sort of the same sort of like robes that you see in all the movies, you know, or the documentaries from the time, and the pictures and the photos and stuff, when you see that they're all wearing the same kind of robe, Jacob would be like, yeah, that looks like something he might wear, but then again, it looks like what you guys are all wearing. You know, so it needs to be something that's a little bit more special so that we can have this moment of, that's definitely his. There's not a lot of ornamented robes like that. Do you believe this story as a true story? Put it in the comments. Do you really think this actually happened? I mean, it's just too conveniently written. It's a folk tale. This is a folk tale that you believe because you've heard it so many times. It's just part of the religion. Like this is one of the big ones. But this was a fun one. We'll see what happens now that Joseph is in Egypt. For those of you in the know, you know what's going to happen. This dreamer is going to keep dreaming, and those dreams, they went from bad to good. So subscribe. I've said this too many times in this episode. And like the video. Thanks for watching. And we will see you next time for chapter 38. Auf Wiedersehen.